This is Beach Talk Radio.
This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
All righty. Dave, you're a little delayed on that. Why did that take you so long? I don't get it. Thanks a lot, Greg. Appreciate it. Welcome to Wahoo Willie's, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Beach Talk Radio. And a couple things to update you on before we get to our great lineup of guests. We have the Margaritaville tour that we did this morning, which was 90 minutes long. We're going to air that after the show. And they talked about the 25% discount that the resort is going to offer to everyone at 33931. And so you want to tune in for that. You're going to get all the details on the discount, and you're going to see the rooms, and the lobby looks spectacular. And are you okay? You ready to go? And everything that's getting ready for them to open in early December. And so stay tuned for that. And then tomorrow we're doing our cleanup at the Historical Society behind the beach school. We have 30 or 35 people that are helping out with that. And we're going to have refreshments for folks, and then co-sponsoring the concert in the park with Wahoo Willie's and Snug Harbor, and the Chamber and the City of Fort Myers, and the band, the City of Fort Myers Beach, and the band is the Echo. So a lot going on this weekend. And anything you want to add? Maybe if you turn your microphone on, you can tell us what you thought about last night.
I just want to say it's so nice to see everybody out here this morning, and it was great to see folks come out last night. We were at the Mr. Waves Island Bar opening and ribbon cutting.
Yep.
And I think everybody had a good time, and we wish them well. Did you have a good time?
Yes, it was fabulous.
You kind of went on a little long. You were kind of
the only thing I want to say about last night is, after we don't come at night, and after the show, I went to use the fabulous county facilities, their air-conditioned trailer bathrooms that they have over there. Which
I think we'll be talking about potties a lot more in a few minutes.
You want to talk about pitch dark over there? Wow, it is. I mean, you can't even see 2 feet in front of you. It's so dark. It's dangerously dark.
It's going to get better.
When you're as old as I am, and your eyesight is terrible. I thought I was stepping up like this to make sure I went over the curb last night, but it was dangerously dark. But it was a great time, and the beach is picking up. People, the beach is picking up.
It is. Yes, it is.
Go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
Yep. I realize that these headphones now are functioning as, there we go.
There, you turn the volume up and you turn the volume down. That's how they work.
It's blocking everything out. And I'm like, I think it's supposed to actually make it easier for me to hear, not harder for me to hear. But
so as long as your hair looks fabulous, it doesn't matter what anything sounds like.
It did not look fabulous earlier this morning during the run. It was a little warm out there.
It's kind of hot today.
It was hot.
So in case you weren't watching the Mondays with the Mayor show last week, we did announce that we're moving our Saturday show to Margaritaville on December the 9th. So our Saturday show will be starting on December 9th at 10 o'clock at the License to Chill bar on the second floor of Margaritaville. And then our Sunday show with the Mayor, we're moving here. So we're going to stay here on Sunday. The Mayor will come down at 11 o'clock instead of doing it on Zoom or on the computer. We're going to be here at 11 o'clock, and they're going to be serving breakfast. So a couple of changes coming up in December, exciting changes, and we're looking forward to the resort opening and everybody coming down and spending money here on Fort Myers Beach. So our first guest we're going to talk to is Dee Pilkins. Dee, come on down. Dee had some issues. You might have seen the story on, I think it was Wink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, grab the microphone so everybody can hear you. Have a seat, and we're going to see if we can figure out, Marie, going to turn the camera if you can. Dee had some issues with the American Legion Just turn the whole thing. Yeah, back it up. Yeah,
There
there we
you
go.
go.
Perfect.
There you go.
Explain to everybody, first of all, the service, your service record there.
Well, and we want to say
Happy Veterans Day to
happy
everybody
Veterans
out there.
Day, and
Yeah.
a grateful thanks to everyone who has served and those who continue to serve.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I had that on my list, and you got me all off. So
Because
thank
when I say 12 minutes and you're still sitting over there talking to people, then you can't figure out
but
that your
that's
headphones
the
aren't on.
funnest part of the job.
Yeah.
It's not you.
All right, Dee, what is your dog's name?
My dog's name is Beth.
Yep,
She comes from America's Service
nice and
Dogs.
close so everybody can hear you.
She comes from America's Service Dogs, which is out of Midtown, New York.
Oh wow,
And
that's where I was born. I was
Yeah.
born in Smithtown, New York. Yeah,
Midtown.
Midtown, New York. I wasn't born there.
I think
Oh,
she
okay.
said,
Smithtown.
didn't you say Midtown?
Smithtown.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did say Smithtown.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
these headphones I can't hear.
Yeah. And is that a lab? Is she a lab?
She's a yellow Labrador Retriever.
Nice,
She's
my
a mix.
favorite. Yep.
And
She's young. Yeah.
She is. She's
Yeah.
just a little over 2 years old.
Okay.
The dogs there are bred there. They're born there, and they spent 8 weeks in the nursery. Then this one, she went to the prison system in Massachusetts and spent 18
Not
months.
that she did anything wrong. She just went there as a
She went to a puppy raiser at the prison.
Okay.
And then on the weekend, she had a weekend puppy raiser that
Thank
would
you.
go to and get her and take her all over New York
Mhm.
to football games,
Huh.
basketball games, anything they wanted to, restaurants, hotels, to socialize her with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, she went back to Smithtown and she spent 3 months with a trainer.
Wow.
And then I spent 2 weeks there to become trained to handle her.
So she was in the prison. She went to the prison system to get training. So they
Yes.
have the prisoners. They have that program where the prisoners train the service dogs. That's phenomenal. And then on the weekends, she got furloughed and could go out and,
Yeah.
and hang out.
Exactly.
So tell us about your service.
I served in the U.S. Army. I was part of the Transportation Management Corps, which is the logistics section. And I went to Fort Eustis, Virginia for my training after basic, which was at Fort Jackson. Down.
She's still working with it.
Good girl. Anyways, she went.
Got any treats in there for me? Or are they all dog treats?
Oh, that'll work for you too.
anyways, after I was in Fort Eustis, Virginia, I went to Fort Dix as permanent party and worked in the transportation office there.
Now, how
And-
many other females were serving with you at that time? I don't want to
About-
ask when it was, but
About 10% of the U.S. Army at that time
Cool.
served were women.
What is
Uh-huh.
in the transportation? What do you do?
Transportation management, nothing happens until something moves.
Okay.
We ran the troop movements. We ran the movements of goods, anything from helicopter blades to tanks to anything that moves within the military. We're the management sector that makes sure that the troops are fed. They got their tents. They got anything that they need. We send it all over the all over the world.
yeah. And how long did you serve?
I was in 6.5 years. After I served at Fort Dix, I went to Wiesbaden, Germany. And I was a part of the V Corps there, attached to 3rd COSCOM. And then I was further attached to 502nd Trans Company. And what we did was
Yeah, because we're
everything.
like lost. We're like, it sounds great.
But I was in during the Gulf War, and we sent the hospitals down the Rhine to the Danube and all the way down to the Gulf. We worked at Frankfurt, sending the planes up, bringing everything down.
So when you went and you were part of that war, what countries were you in when you
I
were
was
over there?
just in Germany. We were the management sector of making sure the troops, that the forces had everything that they needed. That's it.
So what was the reason, if you don't mind me asking, what was the reason that you come to need a service dog?
When I was at Fort Dix, I was in the arms room and I was shot in the leg.
You were?
Yeah, with a blank by the armor. I was on funeral detail. I guess they wanted a real body to work with.
Wait, so you got shot by one of our own?
Yes, I was shot by one of our
Did you
own.
piss him off or
Friendly
something? I mean, did you
fire
say
and-
something you shouldn't have said?
We were coming in from funeral detail, and he didn't no, the person had cleared their weapon, and he just shot me in the leg. I guess so. Maybe it
Wow.
was.
So wait,
But it was a blank.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Well,
it still
thank
messed
God.
me
It
up.
still hurt. Yeah.
Well, I spent 3.5 hours in the emergency room getting my leg cleaned out, but then I had
Wow.
hearing loss, and so did everybody else in the arms.
So how close was he when he shot you?
About 8 inches from my leg.
Holy smokes!
It was an M16
That's a rifle.
round.
Yeah. So okay, a dumb question because I'm not a gun person. Like, so you got shot with a blank. I imagine that's not as bad as getting shot with a regular bullet, right? That probably would hurt you more.
Well, we could try it out on you, and then
Okay,
you could
fair
have the
enough.
personal
Listen, when
experience.
she's-
Actually,
When
I
she gets violent on me,
I
please
still
don't
have
laugh at her
problems
and
with it. I
encourage her.
still have problems with it. But to get back to the topic, I also
Wait, which topic? The one I asked?
no.
Oh, okay.
About the dog.
The army. Anyways,
army.
I also have PTSD, which is a leftover from an incident that happened in
Okay.
the army.
All right. So you
But-
came to get the dog,
Uh-huh.
right? And now, if we can skip ahead, it's unless we're missing something. I don't want to pry into anything. I mean,
Well,
let's
he
get
does, but he's
He
not.
does, he
I'm not
does.
gonna
he's-
pry with
he's
you.
worried that yes.
right that I might get whacked
Yes.
if I ask the wrong question. So you got the dog, and
And I got the dog in June.
Okay.
I graduate my graduating class from America's Vet Dogs was the 25th of June. There were 6 other people in my class with me. Some of the veterans were far more disabled than I am, and with issues where they didn't have the use of a limb or
Mhm.
something like that. And everybody had something different,
Mhm.
and they really trained the dogs to take care of the need of the service member.
you see what I think, that everybody that serves the country, everything for the rest of their life should be free. Their food, their housing, they should get free cars. They should never have to pay for another thing. That's what I think. I mean, we've got all kinds of money. This country, we're sending it everywhere else. Why can't we make sure?
care.
And then all you hear is people complaining about the VA, that it's such crap for
The
the
VA
veterans.
takes very good care of us.
Oh,
It
good.
was my psychiatrist at the VA that helped me locate America's Vet Dogs.
Okay.
And before I got my dog, I had to go through her signature to get the dog. I had to go down and see my regular physician down at the clinic. And then I also had to send everything back to America's Vet Dogs.
Mhm.
And then I had to go through another psychological examination to make sure I was fit for a dog.
Now, are the dogs donated to the veterans? Is that how the whole program works? You get them donated?
They donate. It's
Okay.
fully free.
Nice.
It's fully
At least
free. And it
something's
costs
free
a
for
lot
you.
of money to raise
To
these
train
dogs.
Sure.
these dogs.
And we
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
continuing support any problems that we have through America's Vet Dogs afterwards. So they do a lot of amazing things, but I would like to get to the issue. of what's going on.
What does the dog do for you? Like, what
Well-
kind of support does the dog help you with?
Okay,
What?
the support that she gives me, like if I don't hear something, she will come over and nudge me. If somebody calls my name and I do not hear her, she will come over with her nose and nudge me.
Wow.
She also, because of PTSD, if she feels that I'm stressed out, she will, separate me. She'll go between the individual that's stressing me out. She knows how to calm me down. She does a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And I have recurring nightmare.
Sure.
And she will wake me up prior to me getting to the point where I'm up for 3 hours.
Get out.
Right.
And I go right back to sleep.
Wow.
Wow.
So
how long did that take for her to learn your nuances?
I do not know exactly how long it takes
Mm.
them to do this, but I do know the 3 months. Beth, she sees her daddy over there.
yeah, he's busy. Look, he's busy playing words with friends over there. He's not even watching the show.
Beth, down. Set. Down.
Man, we got to get. We can't even get our dogs to do that.
No.
But anyways, they somehow or other they do it. The 3 months that the trainer takes the dog in between the prison system, they train this dog to
Right.
to take care of you.
So let's talk about the American Legion. You went to the. You would think that.
Well-
they wouldn't have any issues with the American Legion, but
Most
you did.
of the American Legions in the area do not.
Do not what?
This is we are the only ones that aren't, and we're here on the beach where we get a lot of service members visiting, and I feel that it's just
So tell everybody what happened.
What
So,
happened? Yeah.
Okay. The 24th of October, about 2:00 in the afternoon, my husband and I says, well, we haven't been to the Legion since we were back. We live here 8 months out of the year. And so we stopped at the Legion, and he walked in first, and I was about 2 feet behind him. And the guy says, we don't allow dogs in here. And I stopped right there. My husband was quite a bit ahead of me.
Mhm.
And I just stopped and I says, you got to be kidding me. This is a service dog. This is not a pet.
Right.
And he says, we don't allow any dogs, not even service dogs in here. You have to leave.
Wow. You would think a place like that would be used to service dogs for veterans. No,
But they won't allow them in there.
And you said this one. Have
Yes.
you been to others and it's
Yes.
not been a problem?
Now, here's what crazy. I called Wink afterwards, and
you called Wink before us.
Yeah.
Holy crap! What's up with that?
Justin came out and did the story.
Who's Justin? No, does
He's
anyone know
a-
who Justin is? I mean, is he some
He's
reporter?
on Wink News.
He's
The
probably
Wink- he's
15.
one of the journalists on Wink
Oh,
News.
okay.
So, anyways, he came out and did the interview,
Yeah.
and then he went over to the Post, and they have not been on camera except
Of
to
course
say
not.
that they voted on it and they don't allow dogs.
They voted on it locally. Is that what they did?
The local Post,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Now, since then, because it went national, I had a friend from
Like you went viral.
New York.
You went viral.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
wait. Pennsylvania contacted me, and he was a past president of commander of the American Legion in his area, and he has been my mentor all the way through this thing. He's just
Wow.
been fantastic, and he has just held my hand and told me we'll get there with this. And then I had a contact from Colorado, and it's another female veteran, and her post is going to be writing up I think it's some kind of an amendment to the Constitution for the American vets, so that this will not happen to any other veteran again.
Wow.
So they'll put it in writing that
Yes.
all of the posts.
Yeah.
But did the other posts allow
No.
service dogs, or is it just the one here that didn't?
This is basically the only one. I went over to see.
But it is an option. It sounds like it's an option for the individual post to
No,
make a
currently.
decision
I see.
currently. And then what she's
Yeah.
thinking about doing or wanting to do is make
But
it.
most of them are ADA compliant, except
Well,
for
you
ours.
would think. You
So
would
where is
think.
the Legion located?
The Legion is located over on Buttonwood.
Mm.
Okay. And so the reason the guy gave, I believe I saw the reason in Wink's report. I was just joking about that. I did watch it. Was that they said that some of the members are allergic to fur or something like that?
Well, I'm going to tell you what.
What?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And you have to ask him about that. You
I mean,
know?
I can understand allergic
But
to cats
you
or
see,
stuff.
you see, the thing is, she gets baths all the time. She just went to the perimeter. She gets cleaned all
Yeah.
the time. But if someone told me they were allergic to my dog, I'm going to go sit on the opposite side
Okay.
of the
Right.
room.
Right.
Right.
So
I'm
what
not going to sit on top of him, and I'm not.
Right.
So what
That's
you're
just the
saying
way
is
it
the
is.
guy was lying. You think the guy was lying to you? The guy wasn't telling you the truth.
I don't want to go there with
Well, do
that.
you? I mean, just
wanna
between
get this
just between us
changed.
kids, what do you think? You think he
Yeah.
was? I mean, nobody's really watching. If there were, you would have went to Wink. What do you think?
Exactly. I just think it's a wrong because
Yeah.
what about all my fellow veterans that can't stand up for themselves who have service dogs? They come to this beach on a vacation.
Right.
They want to go see their fellow service members.
Right.
They
Right.
want veterans, and they want to sit down and have a beer with their friends and talk about the old war days and what happened to them. And people do get a lot of comfort from talking about these type of issues
With
and,
each other. Yeah.
And the American Legion is a place that it should be.
Well, and you would think, like you said, they want to go and talk about, their experiences. And that probably brings up a lot of feelings for them while they're talking about it. That's the perfect place to have. That's especially where you need your service dog with you.
Yes.
So,
And then yesterday,
thank
there's a new besides all these people trying to change going through the chain of command to get the changes, which happens from your post, then it goes to state, it goes to the regional commander, then it goes to state, and then they can take it federally. And I want to see this happen in a bunch of posts all over this country.
Right.
right.
And that's why I'm speaking out. And your show goes nationally.
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm asking all those
Internationally. How
veterans-
dare you? We're international by now. Come on.
That's right. That's right. We have folks here from the UK.
That's right. Yeah. And
Well, go ahead.
they ran in our race in May,
No.
right?
Now here's
Wait,
here's a very positive thing. Yesterday I went over to Cape Coral, and I went to Post 90, and I sat down with the commander, and he says they want to introduce the same thing where we go and request change to the national organization. So service dogs are allowed in all posts. And he said, I want you to change your membership so that you can be a part of it and vote on this change. Because I
Nice.
can't get into over at Buttonwood with my dog right now. And she is my lifeline.
Yeah.
Right.
She is my leash on
When you
life.
when you went to Cape Coral, did they let you in with the dog?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the only one.
And I went over to, Ted and I had lunch this week over at the Naples 303. They are sharing right now with the VFW over there. And they also allow dogs. They even let comfort dogs in over there, but you know, which is
Right.
crazy.
So what is the guy's name that's giving you a hard time? Right? I mean, what's his name?
You can
Is
look
he-
that up.
It's
Don't
in the
put her in an
story. It's in the
uncomfortable
story.
position.
It's in the Wink story, right?
Um,
They interviewed him in the Wink story.
Well,
no,
then people
they did
can.
not. They
Somebody.
just mentioned it as the commander.
I see.
They just meant, and I really don't want to get
Yeah.
into a.
So you think it was just a doorman or something over there, or was it somebody with some kind
Oh,
of
it
authority?
wasn't the doorman. It wasn't the doorman.
They have doormen at the back.
I
No,
don't.
they don't. No, they don't.
They
No,
don't?
they don't.
So what else? What else can we do to help? I mean,
Get
somebody.
out
John. I
there.
don't know what John said he's going to do something. John is
Well,
going to
I
change
want
somehow.
it to shout out to all the American Post members that watch your show to go to their posts, and I want them to yell, holler, scream, and stamp their feet, and let's get this changed so
Yeah.
that it goes national,
Yeah.
so that any veteran can go into any American Legion and have a beer and talk to his buddies, and if he's not a beer drinker, have a Coke and talk to his buddies.
Right.
Great idea. So, how are you doing? I mean, how are you doing overall?
I was really just floored when it first happened.
I don't mean. I don't mean that. I mean just overall.
I'm a little shocked everywhere I go. I get people that recognize me, and I'm more of a background guy.
I know what you mean.
I'm a background
Oh
guy.
yeah.
And everybody seems to be recognizing me and Beth,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of crazy. It's just really weird.
You're a rock
But
star now.
I'm kind of a wallpaper kind of person.
No, you're not.
I am. My job, yeah, I am.
Don't argue with her.
My job, after I got out of the military, I was an accountant, and I moved up to being
Oh.
a senior financial analyst. So I can sit and punch numbers all day and be happy and not talk to anybody.
So this has all been new for you, but you know you're passionate about it. So you're putting yourself out there. You're
I
putting
have
Beth
to do
out
this
there.
for
Yeah.
my fellow service
Why did you
members.
decide to get into the service?
Well, I've always been a tomboy. And my dad and I he was in the army, and I had two other sisters, so I didn't have any brothers. And we used to sit on Saturday mornings in Owasso, Michigan, watching the old B-1945 movies. And my dad would talk about his war experiences. And I
That's
wanted
World
to
War
be
II, dear. Just-
Thank you.
I wanted to be just like my dad.
Wow,
Aw.
that's cool. So do you miss being around all the folks in the service, or
Well,
do
we
you
have a lot of service friends. My husband over there, give him a shout out.
Yeah.
He's a 20-year man.
Thanks for coming,
Wow.
husband. Oh wow, very nice. Did you
He's a-
meet him in the?
He's a retired master sergeant.
Okay.
Nice.
Did you meet him in
Was
the
he in
army
the army?
somehow?
Yes, he was in
Okay.
the army.
Yeah.
Yes. He served with me at Fort Dix, and then we went to Germany together.
So tell everybody about your shirt. Somebody anonymously sent that shirt to you in the mail.
Yeah, I got this in the mail yesterday, and I have no idea who sent it to me.
Crazy.
And I love it.
It's a Veterans in Tow shirt and
Nice.
with the service dog on there. Very nice.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
The whole thing is so beautiful.
Veterans come in all shapes and sizes. Service dogs come that way as well. My dog serves me as I served my country. Please allow us to work together without fuss as we move forward beyond those disabilities you may not see. My battle buddy is my service dog.
Very nice. Yes.
Very nice.
Well,
And thank God the print, I didn't have to put my glasses on. So I love
and
it.
I'm glad you read it because it would have looked weird for me to just be staring at her like that and reading off her shirt.
Way to make it weird. Way to make it weird.
Any final thoughts that you want to share that people can help you out? And because Beth needs a cracker or something, she's ready to rock and roll.
Well, I
Or
think
she's getting angry at
like,
me.
No, I think she's just
She's
like, what's
anxious.
going on?
Picking up on the factor, I'm a little bit hyper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's partially what PTSD dogs do
Okay.
is they can pick up on those emotions.
Last thoughts. Share with our audience, our
I
non-listeners.
I just want to reach out to anybody who's a disabled person that needs a service dog, even if it's not from this place that only serves veterans and first responders. Find that place because it will change your life.
Well, we thank you so much for coming on, and good luck with this battle, and keep us posted and let us know how we can help.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Very
Thank you,
nice,
guys.
Steve
Thank
Pilkins,
you.
everybody.
And Beth.
Thank you. And Beth.
Beth.
And I apologize for petting your dog. I now I'm reading the sign that you're not allowed to pet service dogs. But
I think you're supposed to ask.
all right, before we get to our next guest and talk about what's going on here in the beach with some of the county properties, I want to let you know about Valerie's Lounge. Dave's been there. I've seen him there. He used to go there when it was a smoking lounge, but now it's a non-smoking lounge. I don't know why he just liked to sniff in the smoke there at Valerie's, but now they're a non-smoking lounge, and they're open Monday through Friday. By the way, Dave's on the Marine and Environmental Resource Task Force Committee, and there's no smoking during those committee meetings, right, Dave? At least no smoking of cigarettes. There might be ear smoking or hair catching on fire, but that's a different story. Valerie's Lounge is now a non-smoking facility, open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 2. They have drink specials daily. They have charity bar bingo. They have karaoke every Tuesday at 8:30 in the evening. And the Flying Freaking Hasselhoffs. That was close. I have gone the entire half a day without saying one curse word so far. And I'm going to keep my promise not to do it today. No need to applaud me for that. Also, I want to tell you about Jorge Barrera. He is the real estate agent with Premier Plus Realty. He's been a sponsor of the show for a long time. And he's a family man. Yes, he is. They just got a new pet, didn't they? They got a new puppy. He's a real family man. And he knows Fort Myers Beach. So if you have property you want to sell or property you want to buy, give Jorge a call. He's sitting out in his car right now waiting for you to call him on his cell phone at 239-791-9893. That's 239-791-9893. All right, everybody. Dear, you ready? On with our second segment. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause for Lee County Board of Commissioner Brian Hammond? Welcome to the show, Brian.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
I bet you don't get that at the beginning of your meetings every time.
Right? No, some booing maybe. I don't know.
Never.
No, it's fine.
So the last time
Long time ago.
Yeah. And a couple of years at least. So the first question I want to ask you is, how's your dad? I saw he just had his 65th birthday, and how's he doing?
He did. He's, my dad's battling cancer like millions of Americans do, and he's going through chemo right now, and he's doing good. He's fighting the good fight, and everything's on plan.
Now, as far as your term on the Lee County Commission, is this your second? Explain how that whole thing works with.
Actually, believe it or not, I was first appointed to the county commission in October of 2013. So I just had my 10-year anniversary of being on the board. Yeah, I won election in 2014, election in 2018, and again last year in 2022. I can do one more term. I actually, right when I got on the Board of County Commissioners, put forward an idea to term limit county commissioners. I thought that a 12-year, so 3 consecutive terms would be a good term limit for county commissioners in local government. I thought it gives you a chance to get in there, make an impact in local government, but then after a decade, you move on and let some fresh ideas come in.
So you can run
so then
one more.
After that, though, can you take a break?
You
and
could
then come back?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You could take a break and come back. You could also, if the people will have you somewhere else and vote you in somewhere else, you could do that as well.
It seemed like Frank Mann was on the county commission for 50 straight years without stopping. I mean,
well, you know what? I always loved serving next to Commissioner Mann. Wonderful guy, great personality, and he actually voted with me on the term limits to put it on the ballot. We put it out for referendum, and the voters approved it with almost 90% of the vote. And Commissioner Mann was right there with me voting for it. So it was great.
So, Brian, before we start talking about Fort Myers Beach specifically, explain to the people how hard hit the entire county was from that hurricane. I mean, there's still traffic lights with one dim green light coming down to the beach. I mean, it really was brutal.
Oh, it literally rocked every single system of the county. It's incredible. I was born and raised here, grew up in Cape Coral, have lived here my entire life, have seen Charlie, have seen Irma, all these other hurricanes. This hurricane absolutely topped them all. I mean, there was nothing like this that we've ever seen in my life. This was the one they always told us could happen, and it actually did happen. And, if you just think about it, we didn't realize how much we enjoy stopping at red lights until after the hurricane, when there were no red lights to stop at. And it felt like you were taking your life into your own hands every time you drove.
Should be like a 4-way stop, but good luck with that.
Yeah. So we have like 500 traffic signals throughout the county. I think 497 of them were damaged or something like that. If you look at the all of the county facilities, whether it's youth sports fields, the lights were damaged, whether just everything was damaged in some way. And so that's kind of part of why it seems like it's taken a while to get everything back up. When you have this many hundreds of facilities that you're turning into FEMA saying, here are our inspections, here are our damages, FEMA is going to reimburse you for that. But that's not a quick reimbursement. And it's really not even a quick approval to get to work either.
One of the things you're, other than Chauncey Goss, you were the most vocal one publicly anyway, is at this meeting, the last meeting, that really took it to FEMA. Like, it just makes it seem like they have boots on the ground but not brains on the ground, as Chauncey said at one of the meetings, and they just seem to make things difficult.
Well, you're always well spoken, but I watched it after, and I was like, oh, he's getting serious here. Like, go ahead.
I'm sure there's got to be a fine line because you need their money.
That. Yeah, so we got a chance to testify in front of a congressional oversight committee that came to town to hear about what our experiences were with FEMA. And so we did have some good experiences. And to be fair to them and the hard work that they've done, we listed those good experiences right up front, right? But we certainly did have some challenges. And look, I see my role here in government as your elected representative is to be pushy for you. All right, to see the things that you see, to understand the common sense things that you understand, and to then push that into the system here, because there are a lot of people on the other side whose job it is to make sure we follow all the regulations, check all the boxes, dot all the I's, cross all the T's. The problem is that really slows down the process. I know it's there for good reason, and I believe in a lot of that reasoning too, but sometimes when things seem like nonsense and people can just clearly see that you need to get something fixed, then there needs to be a guy there who can push for you to get those things fixed.
What countywide, what are the top 3 priorities for Lee County to get repaired right away?
Well, I don't think we really have sat down and said, hey, this community or this project is, we have worked really hard to try to, first of all, just restore life safety things. So the traffic lights are back working again. Obviously the utilities, we got, remember, we didn't have water for the first few days after the storm. So we got the utilities, we got all the life safety things, the traffic lights and things like that. Youth sports fields were a big deal. We were seeing, dozens of people come to our county commission meeting saying, hey, if you don't get the lights up at the youth sports fields, we can't get back to normal. We can't have our kids playing again. So we worked really hard to try and get those restored. And certainly now elements related to tourism are extremely important for us, because we've seen a huge drop in tourism, and we know that a lot of our businesses are counting on that tourism.
Okay, so go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just getting
you love Fort Myers Beach. So explain to folks that don't see you as much. Maybe they don't watch the meetings like some of us do. But why is it that you have this special place for Fort Myers Beach?
I mean, as I mentioned, I grew up just over the bridge, in Cape Coral. This is a place where I just have so many fond memories. This is where I came as a child. This was my beach, and so you know, I remember the first time I got my keys to my 1986 Camaro and I was 16 years old and learned how to drive, and I drove down to the beach, and it was just, I don't know, there was something about it. The lights driving down by Times Square. I just love it. I've always loved it. I bring my kids out here. We have birthday parties out here. We have beach days out here. It's just a thing that, you know, I've always loved this island.
So
when you're talking about the beach, and you brought up about sort of priorities, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit.
Yes,
do you want me to wait?
Yeah, I want to
Okay.
start with the easy ones. When I did the tour
Jumping right in.
the tour of Margaritaville today, and they have a couple of rooms that overlook Crescent Park, and I understand there might be discussions that there might be a band stage there at some point. I mean, everything's being discussed about. Everything's on the table
You're not going to ask him
now.
about the dollar thing, are you?
No.
Okay.
And so right now, Crescent Park has total fencing around
Yeah.
it. Nobody can use it, and it doesn't seem to make any sense.
So when I was a kid, Crescent Park was actually a Days Inn and a Howard Johnson, if I remember right. It was two motels.
Wow, I
And
didn't
then
know that.
Wow.
After Hurricane Charlie, they came in and scraped the hotels, and then the county bought that land and turned it into a park that was basically just like sand and some volleyball courts and like I think a bathroom trailer or something like that too. And so I think there's definitely an opportunity to do something maybe even better with that park, to make it more of an amenity for the people of Fort Myers Beach. And so I think we need to talk about what does the future of that park look like. You know, in discussions with our staff as I was preparing for this weekend's talk with you all, they've actually talked about the idea of, you know, do you put sand back there, or do you actually put sod and irrigation in, and maybe make it like a green space where you could actually hold events or do something more on there? You know, certainly I think what's holding us back right now from getting it open, I went and walked by it this morning before I came on with you all. If you look in there, there's still a lot of glass everywhere. There's a lot of debris. That was a place where we put a lot of the sand that we scraped up off the roads and out of the way. And so it has not been sifted and cleaned out. And I think what our parks people want to do is they probably want to remove several feet of the sand out of that park, and then either replace it with fresh sand or maybe even something bigger, like I said, maybe sod or something like that.
Okay, so
that's why it's closed off on all.
That's why it's closed off right now. Yeah, because you can visibly see the
Yes.
glass from standing there at that fence.
So what can you tell the Fort Myers Beach residents and visitors about when that will be done?
You know, that's the thing. I talked to the team yesterday, and they don't have a timeline on that. We're in, so I said, so why, what's the deal? And you have to get to a certain phase in your FEMA. They have like 7 or 8 phases in the FEMA project management system, right? Once you get to phase 3, I think is what we're in, you can start to design your fix. And then once you get approval for the design of your fix, then, you know, FEMA will say, all right, we'll reimburse you for that. Then you can go to work on that. And, you know, the reason why we want to get the reimbursement, why that's such a big deal for us, is we're talking about maybe $300 or $400 million worth of infrastructure we've got to rebuild, including all the parks and piers and everything like that. And we certainly don't have $300 or $400 million in Lee County's treasury to be able to cover all that. So we need that FEMA reimbursement, but unfortunately that's going to make, you know, the process a little slower.
Okay, last question on Crescent Park. The town of Fort Myers Beach and Lee County has a great relationship now compared to in the past. At least that's what I'm told, and I think it's true.
Yeah.
And the town has gone through a lot of the beach and sifted out all that glass. Is there any way that the town can go in there, or would there be some kind of interlocal agreement so that the glass could at least be taken out, and that fence can be taken down when Margaritaville opens or shortly after?
But then who would pay for that?
No, the town would do it. If the town,
she just highlighted exactly what kind of happens, right? Is so we have a good idea. Wow, is that the bell? Like
That
the
is
Kim's
the bell.
Right bell? I love that.
it never gets wrong,
Can
Brian.
I get one of those at the county commission meeting?
Yes.
Like,
We will send one over.
no, I love that. Okay, so yeah, but that's what happens, right? Somebody has a good idea. Like you and I can just look at it and be like, oh, just get the sand out of there and put the new sand in, and then government gets into, well, who's going
to write the check?
Right. And then does that go with the environmental regulations, and what kind of sand? Believe it or not, there's a specific kind of sand where you get it from.
And then
how are you
who
going to bring
owns
in the
that
trucks?
sand? Is
But
that the
do you
county
realize
sand
how
or the
silly
town
this all
sand?
sounds,
Oh,
Brian?
listen, it's my daily frustration. Absolutely. You know, and so that's why I call myself kind of like the pushy guy. Like I want to push through some of these roadblocks and constraints so that we can get this done, because a lot of people just want to use that beach park, right?
You will never get elected into
No,
a thing.
I'm not dumb enough to run for. Come on, I'd be kicked off.
Oh,
I'd be
this
the
is
ogre.
so easy.
Yeah. Well, and the second one is the Bowditch Beach bathrooms were not totally destroyed. They're going to be saved. And so what's the timeline for them to be fixed?
Yeah, so those are actually able to be saved. And again, we're in the process of working on fixing those. I don't think we're going to be able to get them up for this tourist season, unfortunately, but I think those will come back a lot faster than the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms because we're able to, believe we're going to be able to keep the shell of the buildings and everything like that. So really it'll be more of a bathroom remodel than it will be a total rebuild.
Okay. So no timeline yet. Not this year, though.
They didn't have a definitive timeline on it yet. No, I asked them yesterday, though.
Okay. So we're
we're
saving the pier for last, dear. So don't jump into that. We're getting the easy ones out of the way. The county also owns the Matanzas Past Reserve behind the Historical Society building.
I love it down there. I mean, obviously I haven't been down there since the storm happened. Just let me ask, did it wipe? Because the sign says under construction, so I try to follow the rules. I have not ventured down there. Was that boardwalk completely wiped out? It's like completely gone.
It's definitely damaged and not usable for sure. And something interesting happened with that one. So FEMA has these weird rules that you can't touch it until they inspect it. Right. And if you touch it before they inspect it, you kind of like hurt your ability to be reimbursed. Somebody cleaned it up for us. We actually didn't clean it up.
Oh, wow.
Somebody cleaned it up for us. And so
it wasn't me.
And so there are negotiations with FEMA now about
how would they know?
Somebody touched it and cleaned it up, and it wasn't us, but can we still get it reimbursed and can we get it fixed? And so that's where we're at in the process on that. We're trying to work through the FEMA process to get that underway. And so
are you going to have to start putting up cameras everywhere? Like, don't touch it.
I don't want to live in that kind of world. I hope, you don't want to
no
either.
So no time frame on when that might open.
So not a quick, not that I want to commit to today. Cause you got to be careful. Once you say something, boy, that becomes gospel. So, but we're aware of it. We're working with FEMA through this issue. And I think, what happened after that meeting that we had at the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday, where I came out and said, listen, we need to get moving on some of these things. And I said, I'd like to see the FEMA people come to our meeting and talk to us. After that meeting, we had some talks behind the scenes with FEMA, and we actually got approval to go ahead on design for the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms, to go ahead on design for the pier, to go ahead on design for some of these things that have been stuck in the process. And so that's good. Sometimes you got to get everybody's attention. You got to get everybody in a room. You got to talk about where are we in the process and what can we start doing. And so we got those approvals.
And the same thing happened with Town Hall on Fort Myers Beach. They were waiting for FEMA to inspect it. And then it seemed like they had to inspect it 5 more times before the town could knock it down. It was just like they can't get out of their own way sometimes to help people out. And you would think they would have learned from Katrina or some of these other disasters and be, more aggressive with things so people can get their lives back together. Forget about the fact that everyone's lost their house and they're living in trailers and they're trying to deal with insurance. Yeah. And now FEMA is just so slow with things. It does, like you were kind of saying, it doesn't make any sense sometimes. It just doesn't.
FEMA's become too big and too worried about the rules that they actually aren't a disaster response agency anymore. They're not an emergency response agency anymore. They're really worried about rules. They're really worried about process. And I get it. They've actually seen fraud, right? And after every disaster, every place that builds back, you do find a certain amount of fraud. And so they build things into the system to try and prevent that fraud. But every time you build that into the system, then now you've got another hoop to jump through. You're going to slow things down.
So go ahead.
Well, so you jumped ahead. See, he didn't yell at you to not jump ahead to the good part. In terms of the pier and the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms, which one do you think, are they going to go in tandem in terms of the design and getting them back together, or is one going to go ahead of the other, or what are you thinking?
I don't have a good answer for you on that because I don't think there's a competition, or I think you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think you can push on both projects.
No, from a money standpoint. So
I don't even know that it's they're competing for dollars, to tell you the truth. I think what will happen is the permitting. So we're actually going to spend far more time in permitting and design than we will in actual construction, right? Once we get the design and the permits to do it,
pier,
they'll probably build this stuff in like 18 months or less. But the problem is we'll probably spend 3 years in just permitting and design. Interesting story. The current administration in the federal government, the Biden administration and his environmental folks, are actually very anti-fishing pier right now. In fact, when we were going to build the Big Carlos Pass Bridge just recently, they made us eliminate the fishing pier from the project. So you're going to be able to fish off of the Big Carlos Pass Bridge, but we were going to build a fishing pier that got shut down.
Yeah.
Now, Lord willing, we'll get a new administration that maybe might be more interested in fishing piers. I don't know, but it makes me worried about how long we're going to have to spend in permitting, especially if we try to do something completely radically different with the Fort Myers Beach Pier than what it was before.
So that's new news. The Big Carlos Pass Bridge, when the county approved it, there was going to be a fishing pier somewhere closer to the water than on top of the bridge. And
Correct.
the government and federal government nixed that. There will not be a fishing pier anywhere on that bridge other than the regular bridge.
But we're going to allow you to fish from the bridge, and the bridge, while it will be very high in the middle, obviously is going to have areas that you can walk out on that won't be as high, and it'll have a nice, gradual slope or whatever up to the peak.
So let's come back to Lynn Hall Park and start with the restrooms. When I interviewed the county manager when he came to Fort Myers Beach during the pier presentation, he came out and said that the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms were not going to rebuild because of the whole FEMA regulations and the new regulations. And so we reported that, and everybody was bummed out, but they were going to bring in nice trailers. I mean, the trailers you guys have there are really nice. I mean, compared to the porta potties, which are impossible to keep clean, but the county employees keep the trailers nice. They really are nice. But
I mean, as nice as the trailers are, they're nothing compared to what was there
Especially
before.
You guys had
I
just
use them
rehabbed
all the time.
They were just rehabbed. So then now this past Tuesday, in case you didn't watch the meeting, Brian went out and he kind of got aggressive and said, this doesn't make any sense. Why are we not rebuilding the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms? And Kevin jumped in and felt the same way. And of course, Ray did. And you kind of changed the whole dynamic there. Take us through that whole thing, how you did that and why you did that.
Well, it happened just like you said. The commission is actually, the board of commissioners is unanimous behind this. We want to see the permanent bathrooms rebuilt at Lynn Hall Park. I can tell you as a dad who comes down here with my kids all the time, you need a permanent bathroom. The trailers are much better than the Porta-Johns. The Porta-Johns have to go. They need to be replaced. And so I can talk to you in a minute about a temporary plan that we can do there. But yeah, at the meeting, I laid out my case that we need to give direction to our staff to do whatever it takes to rebuild permanent bathrooms at Lynn Hall Park, and all of the commissioners agreed.
And you want to talk about maybe some of the ideas, or like, because you were talking, it's got to be higher. Obviously, it's got to be higher. It's in a high velocity zone.
It's got to be more resilient.
Right.
Yeah, you got to build it up for resilience.
So these are just concepts. These are not written in stone. I don't even know that they've been designed or drawn out by any engineer. But we have received approval to enter design phase. The first part of entering design phase is to actually hire the designer. That's a competitive bid process. So we're going to have to spend about 6 months doing that. But one of the concepts that we've talked about is the concept of, if the bathrooms have to be about 10 feet high in the air, well, then could you park underneath it? Mm-hmm. So maybe you build the bathrooms up high enough that you could actually park underneath them, and you could have the ADA ramps to go up to the bathrooms. And then, if you're going to park underneath them, maybe is there an idea that you would park on top of them as well? I think all of these things should be explored, because we need to think about not only how Fort Myers Beach is today, but also the future of Fort Myers Beach and how busy it might continue to get down here at Times Square as more amenities and businesses come back. So you might want to think about building more parking so that you can accommodate the people that would go down there.
In a perfect world, when do those bathrooms return? And I know we're not going to hold you to it.
No,
but,
I really, this is just a complete.
That's like estimate. A crystal ball question there.
I mean, just knowing how government works, I think we're going to spend probably 36. For it, then all of the different federal agencies will want to look at it. They're going to want to make sure that it's going to withstand the storm surge of a future storm. I imagine with the current administration that we have in the White House, they're going to want to talk about sea level rise and climate change and future proof it for that as well. I mean, so there's going to be a lot of modeling, a lot of And those models, those cost money too. So we got to do that. There's going to be
creepers. Wow.
Yeah.
Talking about cost, because that's one thing that there was a little bit of discussion in the meeting about is, there was talk about not fronting the money, but using TDC funds. And that's where there was a rub with FEMA. And you were like, this makes no sense that you can't do that. So can you explain to people what that rub is and if it's been
the
mitigated?
idea was, could we just pay for it locally and then get reimbursed for it later in order to try and expedite the construction? And I think they're working through that with FEMA. I think there's probably a good chance that, because that's pretty much how everything's gone. We paid for the $180 million worth of debris removal, and now we're waiting for FEMA to reimburse us, which, by the way, I want to give kudos to FEMA. They actually have been paying really well on that. So we're grateful for that. Like I said, they do great things. They're I don't want them to think we're enemies by any means. They're our partners in this. I just want them to know that, look, I'm on the end of trying to be the voice of the people who want to see these things restored as soon as possible.
No, the pier is obviously a huge thing for not only people on Fort Myers Beach, but for Lee County. And, there's been a committee down here that's put a presentation together. There's been a survey that's done with 9,000 respondents. And where are we on that? Where are we on the pier?
I think we should look at a lot of that feedback and definitely incorporate it into the design phase. So my understanding is we're in about the same spot on the pier as we are on the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms. And that is, we have the ability now to go out to try and design them. Again, because of the current posture about fishing piers not being popular, I think we're going to spend a lot of time in permitting. I think, what they said, talking to our county manager, Harner, is that it's probably going to be the path of least resistance would probably be to just build back what we had. Of course, you would build it back in a more resilient way. FEMA is willing to give you resiliency dollars to make something wider, to make something taller, to make something more.
Okay, so before you go on, so when you say build it back to the way it was, if you say build it wider, that's not exactly the way it was.
Yeah, but if you can prove that that's somehow more resilient,
I see.
You know what I mean? You might get the dollars for, right, exactly.
Because a lot of people in the survey want it to be wider.
Yeah. And I honestly think it could be wider, to tell you the truth, remembering what the pier...
Without sort of risking the FEMA reimbursement.
I mean, that's going to be the wonderful negotiation that's hopefully going to take place.
So you might
but
be
if
able...
but like, say you wanted to build a boardwalk with a Ferris wheel at the end of it, that's probably not going to be a quick thing to do. But if you wanted to even extend it by any great length, farther out into the Gulf of Mexico, that's going to probably bring in the Coast Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, and a whole lot of other review and studying that probably would slow down the project.
So I mentioned this to you before the show. When Kevin Rowan was here last time, he said 2 to 3 years, and everybody's jaw dropped. I mean, that's a pipe dream right now, it seems. It's probably way longer than that, don't you think?
I mean, I don't want people to get depressed by any means.
Well, be honest with them,
but
Brian.
I do want to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to our folks yesterday, and they think, if everything went right, maybe 41 months. So, yeah,
okay.
I mean, that's almost not quite 4 years, but yeah, I mean, it's
Have you ever been involved in a build a new pier project before that you saw go quickly? I mean, Naples is involved in something now that seems to be moving along. I don't know if there's any particular reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, and we could look, I think, I imagine from what I know, and this is only from news reports, I think they're going to just build back just repair and rebuild what they had. And like I said, I think that's what they're telling me is probably the path of least resistance for us too, is to do something like that. But, look, we need to take the feedback of the community into this too. It's going to be all of our pier. But I do know that even though that pier, they say it was the third smallest in all of Florida, it was a great pier.
It was.
I mean, you come to my commission office.
Don't diss that pier.
Exactly.
I mean, does it really need, if it gets built quicker because it gets built back almost to the same size? I mean, what's the downside to that? I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it when I went up and down the pier. I mean, sometimes you had to squeeze by people, but I mean, it just, I don't know. Why does it need to be a Taj Mahal? I don't understand.
I think it's going to have to be wider for resiliency
and higher, probably, right?
I mean, I think those are the things that a professional engineer is going to answer for us. Yeah.
When you say to build it back the way it was, though, and the fishing kind of conundrum, it was a fishing pier, right? So, I mean, that shouldn't that should be easier to get it through. If the rule is you got to build it back the way it was, there shouldn't be so much wrangling about the fact that there's fishing going on, or is that a separate kind of thing?
Unless, and this is just pure speculation, but unless you have an agency somewhere in the federal government who might be happy that there's one less fishing pier. I don't know.
Did you ever find out, or did somebody kind of give you a hint about why they're opposed to the fishing part of it?
You know, there are definitely, I guess they were saying it was environmental, you know, again, related to some of the things that we all know, that people who are not good stewards of fishing, there are great fishermen who are conservationists, who are sportsmen, who do it right. And then there are some times when things don't go right and line gets trapped around wildlife and pelicans have a hard time and all of that stuff happens. So, oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, happy Veterans Day. That's a poppy, I believe.
Nice.
I think that's for Veterans Day. We want to thank, again, all of our veterans and appreciate you having the veteran on right before us. But yeah, I think so. That's what you're going to see.
So what do you think that the Fort Myers Beach residents can see the county come through with first?
You know, I don't know. I wish I could give you like an answer. I don't know. I know this. The first thing you're going to see as soon as we can possibly do it is we're going to knock down what's left of Lynn Hall Park bathrooms.
Okay.
We could do it as soon as we can get the power disconnect on the building. And then once we knock down the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms, our temporary plan is to go ahead and use the plumbing that's there to bring in even more bathroom trailers. And I'm talking bigger and nicer than what's even there with the trailers, because we want to get the porta-johns out of there. We realize the trailer's a better solution
for sure
temporarily. And we think we've got plumbing there that we can use to serve those trailers and also maybe create some temporary showering areas, you know, like the foot showers and all that.
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're in the customer service business. We need to think about what is the customer experience out there right now. We think we could provide a better customer experience if we put out some temporary showers and some nicer temporary bathrooms.
It is rough to leave the beach covered in sand and salt and not, not be able to get that
showers
off.
I mean, you guys did such a fabulous job rehabbing the Lynn Hall Park bathroom. It was like a couple of months right before the storm. It was just a fabulous amount of money spent. I think it was at least $500,000 or something.
A place to change your clothes too.
And it was super nice.
Go and do other stuff.
So, have you ever been in Lynn Hall Park during the darkness?
It's been a long time.
I think maybe when you have some spare time, you should go and try that out. I mean, it's dangerously dark. I mean, it's if there's any way, I don't know what the plan is for lights in that park. But,
so is it the parking lot you're saying it's dark?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I went over to use the fabulous air-conditioned trailer to the last night, and it was just so dark, like walking around. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, like where you're going, you could trip over a curb or get hit by a car. I mean, it's that dark, and it's darker early, obviously.
And I think that goes back to, again, so what is the customer experience? What are our residents, what are our customers, right, experiencing out there, and how could we then solve that problem? So I'll take that one back to the team and talk to them about what could we do about temporary lighting, that maybe won't upset the sea turtle nesting season and all of those kind of things. We'll have to just look at it.
Well, and at least for now,
it's not season.
Right. Yeah. Especially now with the time change and it getting dark, significantly early. And not being turtle season.
Brian, when you drive, you were here for September 28th. I apologize for it being so long. I mean, Kevin Guthrie went on for half an hour and thanked every single government employee on the list, but
he was a hero though, superstar.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah, absolutely.
When you drove all the way up and down Estero Boulevard and saw what you saw, what did you think?
Well, I mean, I saw it at not quite obviously. Like Mayor Allers is, by the way, he's an awesome mayor for you all.
Star.
And absolutely. Yeah. And I've heard his stories about being on the beach through it all and everything like that. I saw it, pretty close to right after everything like that. So to see it where it was when it was covered in sand, the roads, you couldn't even make out where the roads were or anything like that, to where we are today. I'm really pleased with the progress we're making. I know we all want to see it built back even faster than this, but I'm really pleased with driving up and down the beach. It looks clean. You can make out the roads. You can make out the infrastructure. You can see things are being restored. I mean, I think that's good. That's progress. It keeps me hopeful that we can continue to move. I hope that private property owners are able to move through their own personal insurance situations or whatever zoning and entitlements and things that they're going through to try and rebuild as soon as possible too.
Yeah, we're going to have one of our restaurants come before the local planning agency on Tuesday, and everybody's talking about height and parking spaces, and you guys are dealing with something over on Sanibel and Captiva.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to happen with South Seas?
Well, I think I think what we need to do right now is to be flexible with businesses as they're looking to build back, right? I mean, now flexible doesn't mean you give away the whole farm, but I think you need to be flexible and understand that, the market today of what travelers want, of what people who stay in hotels want, is probably a lot different than it was 50 years ago in the 70s when some of these things were built originally, right? So you need to be flexible to understand that, people might be asking for things for good reason, and then see how you can make those work. And I think, I do want to clarify and say something about the South Seas thing, because people talked about those height amendments that we did at the county. We're talking about 7 feet. I mean, that's what we were talking about. So you could go 28 feet high, and the commissioners now allowed you to go 35 feet high. 7 feet. It's nothing radical. And by the way, just so you know, if you build a single family home anywhere in unincorporated Lee County, a single family home is allowed to be 35 feet high.
But it seems
what
like,
do you think the disconnect was over there?
it seems like it's still going on. I mean, we got emails
because
yesterday.
there's a lot of people that were have been pretty outspoken about it. So
yeah. No, I mean, look, I understand where they're coming from. They're coming from a great place of nostalgia, of memories of this is how Captiva looked pre-storm. This is what I remember from my childhood. And that's how we started our conversation, right? Talking about nostalgia and what I remember too. But I can tell you the beach on Fort Myers Beach isn't the same today as it was when I was a kid. And it's going to be completely different when my kids are adults like me. And so will Captiva. I don't think it's going to be radically different. I think, but you will see a new South Seas built back that might be 35 feet tall instead of 28 feet tall.
So I have to admit, I'm an outsider when it comes to that. I'm watching with one eye as opposed to really in being involved on Fort Myers Beach. It almost seems like what the other side is saying is that it's now going to be Katie by the door. Like it's going to be high rises and it's going to be gigantic buildings. Yeah. And you're saying 7 feet. So that's a wide way apart of describing what's going on there.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a social media world where you got to get people's attention, right? And so if I want to get your attention to get you to join my side to try and fight something, I'm going to tell you the absolute worst case scenario that can happen. Because if I do, then you're going to want to join my team and help me go stop this thing.
So they need the extra 7 feet because of the regulations now on the bottom
for
floor.
Right. So basically,
for the floodplain, right?
Because
Okay.
So after hurricane, people might say, well, people bought these things knowing what they had. Well, they did. They also had completely different flood regulations prior to Hurricane Ian. So Hurricane Ian happens, the new FEMA maps get adopted, new flood regulations get adopted, and now all of a sudden you actually have to move the bottom habitable floor up higher in the air. So if you got to move the bottom floor higher in the air and you don't give people more space on the top, then they're actually being squeezed. Yeah. They're losing a floor. So what we said is, look, we're going to standardize it throughout the county. This is how we're going to measure it throughout the county. So there's no real question about it. You're going to be able to get whatever you're getting on the top, whatever you're losing on the bottom, you can just get that back on the top.
Okay.
So, and pardon me, because I'm not, again, I haven't watched it as much. So it's what you're saying is that it's really just a difference of height. They're not getting more density, intensity, or whatever.
Well, that's the interesting thing. So that's one case that people will make is, oh, well, if you go 35 feet high, you might be able to put 3 stories now. Well, okay, so if you build an extra story onto a hotel or whatever, then that means you could have more rooms and more people. The interesting thing that a lot of people who own property on Captiva have already done and have done for years is actually they've done just that. They've converted their bottom story, which isn't supposed to be habitable. They've converted it into living space, and they actually there are a lot of 3-story houses on Captiva right now that are Airbnbs and vacation rentals and things like that.
So they have inhabitants on the bottom floor now?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you went into some of these homes and you saw they full on living space.
But they won't be able to do that going forward, right? Or
no. Well, so again, like I said, the new flood rules say your lowest member, horizontal member, or something like that of your floor has to be above this, this footage. then we're just saying if you've got to go up that much, then we need to give you more room on top so you don't get squeezed and lose a floor.
With what the county's planning on approving, do you worry that there's going to be an influx of more people and then it's going to be a bigger problem for the infrastructure and the whole thing, or not?
So when I was born in Lee County, Florida in 1980, 200,000 people lived here. Today, 853,000 people live here, and more are moving here every single day.
Yeah.
I've seen nothing but people move here my entire life. And are the roads a little more crowded? Absolutely. But do I now have Gulf Coast Town Center Mall, a hospital that serves children who have cancer with the Golisano Children's Hospital? My dad, who's going through cancer treatment now, has a specialist who lives in our town who can see him. I mean, the density and the more people who have moved here have actually attracted businesses and doctors that now allow us to have services here that we didn't have when I was a kid. So growth isn't always a horrible thing. Yeah, I do believe that it needs to be balanced. It needs to be watched. It needs to be, obviously we've got regulations in place, but I don't see how in America, where we all have constitutional rights to move wherever we want and to enjoy property that we bought, how you're going to ever stop people from just moving here.
Do you feel, obviously Lee County is growing. I when I go down Colonial to 6 Mile, it's just crazy over there with all the road construction. Yeah. Do you feel like the board is managing growth the right way?
The infrastructure, putting that in place first?
So, we've talked a lot about how mad I get about permitting. I get really mad about how long it takes to build a road. There are some roads that we were talking about when I first got on the board 10 years ago that are still not under construction today.
Wow.
So one of the best roads that we could build in Lee County that would really relieve the pressure off of Daniels and Colonial, two of our busiest roads, would be to connect Alico Road to State Road 82 and provide a third outlet for people who are leaving Lehigh Acres, right? Yeah, it would take a lot of pressure off of that. So the commissioners actually made a decision to forego the PD&E study. So there's this study that the federal government makes you do called Project Development and Environmental Study. It takes 4 years
to do a study,
just to study the project, the development, and the environment. And that's if you want to get federal funding for. So we said, look, we'll pay for the road ourselves, scrap the PD&E. Let's just go straight to design. So Lord willing, we're going to get this Alico connector built. Now, even that still, though, is probably going to be 4 or 5 years away.
Alico, as it is now, you go out and then it turns south, right? Doesn't it turn south and connect to Corkscrew?
It does.
And then Corkscrew connects to 82.
Yeah.
So you're saying now that it would just go straight out Alico. You wouldn't have to do that.
We'll create a completely new alignment where we would bend Alico to the north and it would connect to 82 somewhere around Sunshine. And then Sunshine is going to ultimately, if you look at the long term, ultimately go all the way through to 80 even. Yeah, you'll see a really nice way to get people around at some point.
We had a question.
Well, I just want to say it was crazy because we've lived out in Gateway for a long time. So when we moved there, 82 was so little. Yeah. And then we went through the growing pains and it was like, wow, they're making this really big. This is so big. Within a year, I was this isn't big enough.
Down here. So we're getting our second roundabout in Gateway now, which is taking forever. It just seems like they take forever, like you said. But somebody, Michelle, wanted to know about along some portions of Estero Boulevard, the sidewalk was destroyed from the storm, and it's pretty dangerous. Does the county have a plan to replace the sidewalks?
Yeah, there's actually going to have to be a pretty extensive rehab up and down Estero Boulevard to try and pull out the drain that's in the middle, get the sand out of there, get the drain working. Although the drain seems like it's held up pretty well,
spots.
But we want to get it, back to the functionality that it was pre-Ian. I imagine they'll go through and mark all the sidewalks and find out where things need to be replaced and repaired. And how long that's going to take, I don't know. But I mean, those are the things that's the phase we're in right now, right? So when you get hit by a hurricane, especially one the magnitude that we got, first you got to clean up the garbage. You had to save everybody's life. So we did the rescue. You had to restore the services, the water, the electricity, and everything like that. You had to get the garbage out. We got that done. Now you got to restore the infrastructure, and that's kind of the phase that we're in right now, is just rebuilding and permanently restoring the infrastructure.
Ray Sandelli decided he's not going to run. There's at least 2 people so far that are running, and the election is next year. Ray's been great for the beach. Good friend of the show and a super nice guy.
Navy veteran.
Yes.
So we thank him for his service. Absolutely.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you about was there's a woman that comes to the county board meetings, and she uses 3 minutes on every single topic. Every single
Not
topic.
every single one, but she's
Every
quite a bit.
single one. And you keep a totally professional about it, but she drives me crazy. I mean, she extends the meeting by an hour. I mean, can you do something about that? Or, I mean, come on.
No,
I mean, what's going on there? Come
Everybody
on.
gets a
Come
chance
on,
to go up
Brian.
and say something.
It's just the same thing over and over again, just on a different topic.
You would do the same
I
thing
wouldn't
if
do that.
you had a.
I have common sense where you feel like
well, now that's rich.
clearly she's knock it off. She's gonna be running for office or something, and she wants FaceTime, or it's just annoying. It takes up too much time.
I was so sorry you're annoyed that her right. She's
but these guys run efficient meetings until she gets in the way. They're totally efficient meetings until she's clearly got a clock going too, where it's 2:59. You never hit the buzzer on her, Brian, because she bails out at the right time.
Listen, my principles are, I believe in free speech, and even if I don't agree with you, I'll fight for your right to say it.
But
Absolutely.
Cecil, I mean, you could just see Cecil's. You can see the steam coming out of his head because he tries to address all the comments after it, because half of the comments aren't truthful.
Well, no, you do bring up a good point, right? Sometimes things are said in the meetings, and like news reporters will grab onto those clips and they'll put them on TV. As
without
if like
context.
These are facts, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is important to address things that are not correct that are said, so that at least the news knows what the real facts are, what's really happening. Yeah,
right.
that does happen a lot.
Now you were the chairman of the board for the last year, and you guys just elected Mike Greenwell. Brian, I watched Mike Greenwell do the last meeting. I hope you're giving him some training, because he needs a little help on that. It's not his thing. It's not his thing, but
Greenwell was an all-star athlete, one of the best that's ever played for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
I know he'll get exactly where he needs.
Out of the park.
Amen. He'll hit it out of the park.
He needed a lot of help that meeting, but you guys are always helping each other, which is nice.
It's probably very intimidating, and I'm sure he doesn't want to make a mistake. And you're like,
well, he was there that time because you were out of the country or something. You were where were you?
So I went to London, England, with the Brand USA conference. So I thought if there was ever a year, I was the chairman of the Tourist Development Council this year. I thought if there was ever a year to tell the Europeans that we're open for business, that our Mayor Allers and our Mayor of Sanibel both says they want. We don't want the Europeans. They're from Europe, and they're saying they don't want the Europeans.
They're trying to get away from them.
They wanted to get away from them. Well, we would like more European visitation, and they needed to know we were back open. So yeah, it was a great opportunity for us.
Nice. So tell the people on Fort Myers Beach, I mean, how aggressive this county is going to be in getting these things repaired and fixed for them, so they can have more hope. I mean, last night we saw a new business opening. It gives them hope. We have more things that are going. We see more ribbon cuttings, which is very hopeful. But I mean, you guys have some major property on this island that people really want to see repaired.
Again, I think the strongest show of support was that all 5 commissioners, when we had the conversation on the Lynn Hall Park bathrooms and the pier, all 5 are unanimously behind. Let's get things permanently built back as soon as possible.
Gotcha. Any final?
No, I think that's
anything else you want to share, Brian, that we missed?
I appreciate the time. Again, thank you very much.
We appreciate you coming out all the way to Fort Myers Beach and your support that you've given to the beach. Last week, you could really see it at the county board meeting. If you guys didn't watch it, you should go back and watch how aggressive Brian got at that meeting to try and get things done. And I think you changed the direction last week for sure, especially on the bathrooms that we thought weren't coming back.
Well, thanks, Ed. We'll keep pushing.
All right. County Commissioner Brian Hammond, everybody. Thanks so much, Brian. We appreciate you coming down here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you. All right. Before we buzz out of here, it is hot today. Let's see, everybody. I got one more ad to read you. Please don't buzz off yet before we wrap up. And again, remind everybody of all the stuff that's going on. Brian's he's a great guest. He's a great interview, and he's really good for Lee County, and we appreciate him coming on. Power Block Builders, you might be thinking about building a house somewhere like on Fort Myers Beach. And we want you to give Power Block Builders a call and give them a chance. They built hundreds of structures for Lennar Homes and other developers since 2017. They're a father and son company. That's what you want, a contractor that you can trust and believe in. Oscar Jr. is the licensed general contractor and roofing contractor. Oscar Sr. is the mason by trade with over 35 years of concrete experience. And the younger brother, Kellen, is a field superintendent for Power Block. And give powerblockbuilders.com a check on the website or give them a call because all three of them are sitting out in their car right now waiting for you to call at 239-849-1919. That's 239-849-1919. All right, folks, it's a busy weekend here in Fort Myers Beach. If you're watching the show from somewhere, please come down and watch the concert tomorrow night. We've got the Echo playing. We're going to have our tent set up in Bayside Park. It's sponsored by Wahoo Willie's and Snug Harbor and the city of town of Fort Myers Beach and the Chamber of Commerce. So that's tomorrow night at 4 o'clock here at Bayside Park. And of course, we're going to be at the Historical Society cleaning up. I saw the list of things to do. It's going to be more than a cleanup. Like we're going to be inside taking the items off the shelves and putting them in bins. So they're really going to nice up the place. It looks great as it is, but we're going to pull some weeds and plant some plants.
It's great that building even is still there.
Yeah, it's a cottage.
It's an older building.
Two cottages together, so it's kind of far enough away, I guess. But there was a lot of damage there.
And again, another big thanks to all of the veterans. And
yes, thank you to everybody for coming out and watching the show. And don't forget that I'm going to be popping on the tour that I did at Margaritaville right after the show ends. So you'll be able to check that out and see the inside and all the progress and the plans for them opening and all the details on the 25% discount. It's all going to be revealed on our tour, which we're going to play on our Facebook page and YouTube page right after this show ends. So you're going to get all the details on how you can get your 25% discount.
And you got no bells today.
Nobody got any bells today.
I got a bell. He did give me a bell.
He is a fountain of information and such a nice guy, and we appreciate him pushing.
When you say he's aggressive, though, he
said he was aggressive.
He was, but he's got a different way than you have.
For sure, yeah, he's
like
very good at it.
When you say it, it's like, oh my God.
He's very good at it, and that's why.
He handles it appropriately. Him not so much.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to share?
Nope.
All right, everybody. Stay tuned for our tour of Margaritaville. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.